Survivor specialist McKenna, John, and Will are here to break down this next episode of Australian Survivor. John, it is your first time talking AU Survivor with us. So give us your thoughts on the season as a whole. Who is or was your winner pick coming into this? And, your thoughts.
I don't think I actually came in with a vested interest for a winner pick in this season,
Mm-hmm.
which is a weird thing to say about a season of Survivor, especially because I was just thinking about it 2 weeks ago and the season's almost over. But it's been a very interesting experience watching this. Like, it has those hints of AU Survivor in there, but it's been completely dominated by Parvati screen time the entire time. I know, McKenna, you're not complaining about that, but it almost doesn't. There's something weird about this season that doesn't quite do it for me. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying watching it. It has those moments that really do feel iconic. The opening sequence in the premiere, it was tearing up because you had all of these fantastic people all coming together, and it did really feel like this major event. But the accelerated timeline and kind of like the way things have gone throughout the season. No, I'm not upset about the way things have gone or anything like that, but it just doesn't quite feel like Survivor for some reason. So it's really hard to properly evaluate this season, in my opinion.
Like, something's a little bit off, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. It just doesn't quite fit.
And you're like, it's good. I mean, like, these tribal councils are just like, dun, dun, dun. Like, it's like, I'm in, I'm watching, I'm enjoying it. But like, it just feels, there's something off. And I do think it's the player count. I think it's the day count. And I think it's that there's probably been a lot of pre-gaming and that it's a returning player season where it just feels like it like lacks this authenticity almost. Like, you're not taking 18 Americans as we usually see it. Not saying like Australian Survivor can't be good or like because they're not American. I just mean that's the phrase.
Right.
We're taking strangers and putting them on an island for a considerable longer period of time and seeing what happens. And it feels like this is, I don't know, it's almost like it's an exhibition match a little bit. And the way people are playing is kind of the vibe. I mean, we'll get into it, but there's something off.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, I think part of that being off is it doesn't quite feel like Australian Survivor at the same time. And I realized that while watching this week's batch of episodes, because of how truncated the season is, we don't have reward challenges. So those extra long episodes that kick off the week feel really long as they're just trying to fill in time. And yes, there's a lot of stuff going on in camp life, but it feels different because of it.
Yeah, I am missing the reward challenges because that does add like extra dynamics. So like when Cass had that spa reward, it wasn't really like a reward challenge. She just got a scroll and it was like, all right, let's go to the spa. And that proved some dynamics of, oh, she's probably keeping Lisa at camp to keep an eye on the Australians and things like that. So we are missing that kind of element to see where people lie, because I was shocked that the 4 actually made it to the 4 here, because if we had a reward, maybe we see, those dynamics more outright.
Yeah, or maybe there's a plan to subvert it where like, like Shawnee or Lisa are able to go on reward and like really put it in their brains that like, hey, you're not going to be Parv, you're not going to beat Sari. Like, you should probably do something. And it's like these past 2 votes have just been mind-boggling because it's like you really like they seem so. I'm talking about Janine and Luke here. That like Janine and Luke seem so content with sitting with Parv at the end, which I don't know if it's out of like ego, like they think they can actually win, or if it's out of like, I just want to get to the end because that's like, once I get there, I'll be good. Again, that might be a little bit of I don't know, but it seems curious to me, especially where Luke did have like a very tangible play that he could make tonight. It's not like he needed to flip anyone's vote. It's not like he needed to pull like a magic trick out of his hat. Like, he had an idol. He could have played it on Shawnee and sent Sari home. Like, that was an option here. And he chose not to do it.
Was it the right option to keep this strong 4, or should he have kept Shawnee? Because Shawnee wasn't even a loyal Aussie necessarily either. She thought her best play was to go with Parv and Sari. So would it still be 2-2 had Suri gone out this vote, do you think?
I don't know where the numbers fall when you get to 4 and like where is Shawnee really gonna go? But even if it's like I think just the act of making a move and attempting to vote at somebody who can win the game, like getting Suri out. I know we all love Suri, but like getting Suri out is like you have a better chance of beating Shawnee in a final 3 than you do against Suri. You have a better chance of beating Lisa in a final 3 than you do against Suri or Parv, because at that vote, Parv didn't even have to play her idol. So like they have been comfortable in this 4, and I don't know why they've been so comfortable.
It felt like Shawnee this episode was trying to pull what Lisa was trying to do the episode before, but now throwing Janine under the bus to make sure everyone knows she's an excellent speaker. She has a lot of money. She doesn't need this. Keep me around. But it just didn't get off the ground. And I think Parvati was more taking mental notes rather than wanting to execute for this exact vote.
Yeah, it almost feels like the way that everything's shaping up right now plays into something that you've all talked about in the previous recaps of this idea of like, can you just not sit there with someone who's the same as you in this final tribal council? Like, they know it's a 3. They know it's going to be 3. It almost feels like Luke and Janine are playing to be the last Aussie standing and just hoping that that is enough to get them the win over Suri or Parvati at this point, and that all the Aussies will just vote for them at the final tribal council.
Well, if both of them are there, it takes away a number on the jury.
I think you will see one of them go home at 4. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that like, it feels like they are playing to be the only person sitting there at the end. And like very similar to what we just saw in 48 with Kyle and Camilla, right? Like that idea of like, you have to be the last one in your pair there, because then all of a sudden the numbers swing your way at final tribal council.
Yeah, it's probably not like, even if you are there against Parv and Suri, though, like it still feels like. And I know we had talked about this on our Adam podcast like a week ago, where it's like if Suri gets to the end, she's winning no matter what because she needs to win and she hasn't won before. Everyone wants to see her win, but like I find it even like I don't even really see a world in which like Suri beats Parv, like unless there's like unless Parv goes out at 4 and then it's like Suri, Luke, Janine. I don't know. Like, that doesn't feel likely either.
I feel like Luke takes it at that point.
Yeah, except man, Luke. What did Luke say to Janine tonight about fire? He's like, "Put me in fire. Like, I want to be the one."
Just
to
like
win.
make sure we go to fire if we go to if there's 4, because they're most likely going to vote for me. So if we are tied at the 4, please vote with me. Don't just send me out.
Got you. Okay, because I was then wondering like, is fire making even is that part of the Australian format? So it's not. Like it's only used as a tiebreaker.
Yeah, it's a normal vote. I believe we were
normal vote at 4
this yesterday with Kelly, and I think I've immediately forgotten. But I believe it's a normal vote at 4. So then hopefully Luke is wanting the 2-2 tie.
But
Luke now has won his 3rd consecutive immunity. Odds are he could win his 4th. Well, we've seen the preview. It seems pretty Parv heavy rather than Luke winning it. But that is a very high possibility. Luke could win his 4th individual immunity here. Does he do the same to save Janine? I don't know if he's looking at his own back to save it, but like, will he also save Janine?
It's like I feel like he would, just because at this point, especially if everyone knows Janine has all this money, like, and I know Shawnee was bringing that up as an argument of like, oh, she's successful, she's going to find a way to persuade people to get votes, but it's almost like it's like dissuade. Like you're like Janine's, no one's going to want to vote for her because she has money, even though she's played a very good game. I've heard like Tyson
effect almost.
Yeah, I think a little bit, and like I've heard Tyson talk about like when he talked about his blood versus water win, like. I know some people talk about differentiating those games, and that's what John, you were just speaking about. But there's also the idea of like bring people that have played a very similar game to you if you know you've outplayed them. And I think Janine falls into that boat for Luke, where they've kind of been in lockstep. I guess not on that vote I'm so confused with the episodes with the release time where they did not vote the same way, but like they've been a pair, they've been a duo, they're known as a duo in the game. And Luke with his challenge wins and maybe with his just like charisma and even with this idol, like he didn't do anything with it. It was just kind of like, kind of just grandstanding and putting on a show, but like maybe, hey, he had an idol. I think he could want Janine to be sitting next to him and be like, I played the better version among us two. And then now it's head to head against like Parv or Suri.
So Janine has been making some moves behind Luke's back here. She goes and talks to Parvati just in case it comes down to her or Luke and that they choose to go with her. And Parvati's like, I love an all-girl final 3, let's do it. So Janine has been kind of making her way around Luke just in case he's a hindrance to her game here.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've actually been really impressed with Janine over the last couple of episodes, and especially like leading into this episode. She's setting the stage up so that she is the one who isn't going to get the attention going into the Final Four, right? She is the one who is kind of proven, especially with her relationship with Suri, she's really built up that relationship to make it so that she isn't going to be the target at Final Four and that Luke will really get all of the attention. The question is like, is it just not enough? And it's really weird now that we're getting into this final stretch of this season. We have these 4 players who are just like 2 pairs from previous seasons, right? Like Luke and Janine played with each other before, Suri and Parv played with each other before. And now we're at this point where, and I think this leads into that feeling of it not really, like it feeling slightly off, kind of feels like a rehashing of things we've already seen. And it's not helping that a lot of these confessionals in this episode are really reflecting on that, right? Like so much of this episode focused on this idea of like Parvati saying like she wants to correct the fact that Suri didn't sit at the end with her in Micronesia, despite the fact that she probably loses in that instance. So
that's how you won the game, Parv. Yeah. Like you should be stoked that Suri did. Like you should be stoked it was a final 2 and not a final 3.
It just feels weird because of that, right? Like it just feels like it's this weird, almost alternate history that we're like trying to correct something that happened in 2008, like Parvati said today, and why? Like it just again, it's just like it's the weirdness of this season coming through, where it's like, okay, but that was 17 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we also have Janine asking Luke, hey, do you have an idol? And Luke flat out lying to her, then at the end of the day going to tribal council and has the idol. Do you think any of that coming back to camp will hurt their relationship? Even though Luke does give her the immunity necklace, he still protects her and everything like that. So he does have her at the forefront of his mind by giving her the guaranteed immunity. But she directly said, Luke, do you have an idol? And he said no.
Yeah, that was kind of it feels more clever than maybe it is, but because I thought the same thing, like, oh my gosh, you're burning Janine, now you're revealing you have an idol, but then he does give it to her and save her. So it's like, is she going to be like indebted to him or like screw you for lying? I don't know. I think Janine's pretty sharp where she's not going to be like needlessly indebted to somebody in a game where you're trying to win $1 million. I think she's going to be like, hey, I don't owe you anything. Like, thanks for that. Because like her name, she really wasn't going home. Like I felt like this episode was like a little bit of like the post-merge of season 48, all condensed into like 50 minutes where it's like, here are all these plans, all these things that could happen. Like we could have Luke playing an idol on Shoni. We could have the target move to Janine. We could have the target move to Suri from we saw all this like navigation and ways of this boat. And remember, there's only like 5 people left. And we spent like this whole beach segment of like, we could do this, we could do that. And guess what? We just did like the plan that they had from the very start of the episode. And you're like, all right. But I guess, do you think this bought Luke that much, like with this idol play? Like, I'm curious what you guys think. Like, is this going to win him points if he gets to final 3, like having this idol or making this play? Because he really didn't use it, I don't think, correctly at all here.
It kind of just felt like Luke showmanship to me. And like it felt very in character for Luke to do something like this. but I don't think it's really garnering him anything, right? Like he's won the challenges, he's doing well on that front. He had this idol that no one knew about except for Parvati in the end. But is this really showing him outplaying anything, or is this kind of just showing his resilience in the game at this point? Like, is it just showing that he is doing enough to keep alive in the game? And is he really directing anything? Because what we see here is with Shawnee going home, like, is he really directing this vote? Because it really kind of feels like Parvati and Suri are the ones who directed this vote in that instance.
Yeah, and I think that's why this was a mistake. This was a chance for Luke not to just be like, "Oh, I'm with the 4 or I survived long enough." This was this was a chance to grab the game, take the reins, and like really be a deciding factor in an outcome of a vote, like single-handedly.
Worth playing for comments. Everyone in this final 4 has a fair amount of wealth. $250 dollars isn't enough to motivate super sick gameplay. Do you think that's a fair statement, or are they just mainly trying to go for the win of like AU versus the world rather than the money? That's just a bonus.
Well, I wonder, like, do you think because the season's called AU versus the world, like, do the Australian players want to see an Australian win and they're going to vote an Australian no matter what? And same thing with the World Tribe. Maybe the World Tribe less so because it's not like they even have this like country ship. Like they don't have this shared patriotism for like where they're from. You would hope that they would just be voting along like who played the best game, but I'm confused. It says 250K Australian isn't enough to motivate super sick
So like
gameplay.
a lot of people in who don't have money in their pockets will be like doing those cutthroat moves because they want to get the money, but these people have a fair amount of wealth. So like Janine isn't motivated by the money, she has that money in spades. So it
Right.
would be like they're not motivated by money here, they're more motivated by the title, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but that's almost why I think like if you already have money and wealth and this isn't going to be life changing for you, it's almost lets you play freer and you can almost play like a more risk takey game, a little like a riskier game, because like if you're in a good spot and you have an alliance and you have like a guaranteed path to final 3 for shot at life changing money, feel like you're going to lean more conservative in your gameplay. So I almost disagree. I appreciate the super chat, but I might disagree because I think if you are like, this is like my meal ticket to like life-changing success and money, like,
well, that's a good point, Will. So
that's what we're paying for. Okay. Well, I mean, I think you can look at it both ways.
I think you're right, Will, though, because I think this is why we've seen Parvati play this way, right? Like she's been much more aggressive than we saw her in Winners at War, and obviously different point in her life than she was 5 years or 6 years ago when Winners at War was recording and everything. And coming off of Dondi, so in a different place completely, but we're seeing a more aggressive Parvati here. Like even if we go back to the auction when she's like threatening Luke and everything, right? That's just the way she's playing does feel a little more maybe not more reckless, but it feels less safe. And it feels like, hey, whatever, this is 2 weeks. I'm in Samoa again. I can just kind of do whatever I want. Maybe I win this title, maybe I don't. But I think that's also leading into this inauthenticity in the season where it does kind of feel like we're just getting the big names at the end now, right? Like, okay, Janine's the less of these 4 remaining players, but it still feels like this is just, if you were writing out this season, this is how you would script it.
It is interesting coming into the game because think about it, you want your ally on the jury here to get more theoretical numbers toward you in the end. Because like Parvati should want Suri on the jury rather than sitting with her, and same for Luke, Janine, Suri. Like they all should want their respective partners on the jury, but they're probably going to fight for their partners to stay in this upcoming finale, which is I find just like a really big mind mess.
Yeah, it does feel like towards like as we've gotten deeper in this season, there seems to be kind of like a lack of playing to win, at least like from like when we're watching it and we're watching an edited version, of course, but it's like, man, like Parv is just so far ahead. Like she's front running like so hard on the season right now. It's like, how can you not at least take out one of Rallies and Sari this week, or like try to make, I don't know if you guys, I had not been able to listen to any of the recaps because I actually was just able to like binge the last 3 episodes shortly before we got on. But like, did you talk about a possibility of, or were you even on it? Were both of you gone? Who was maybe?
I was here. I was here yesterday. I was not here for 2 days ago. It was Tag and Philip from Dondi.
Gotcha. What like? Is there a move against Parv there?
No, like, nobody is talking because Parvati has the idol, so I feel like they're just letting her skate.
Yeah, but she didn't play it. It's like that would have been the like.
But nobody
has an idol. It means you need to snipe them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. And there's just been so much talk of. I remember maybe I already brought this up, but like Shoni in one of these episodes was like, will you go to the end with me? Will you go to the end of me? Like, I just want to go to the end with somebody. It doesn't matter who, but it's like, it should matter who. It does matter who. The way you win is by navigating yourself to the end against 2 people who you can beat. And hey, maybe Shoni couldn't have beaten anybody like this deep into the game, but like, at least be thinking about that. Like, it should matter.
Yeah. What I was shocked about, they talked about, we need to tell Shani that we're going Sari early on before the challenge, but we didn't see them talking to Shani then. We saw them talking to her after the challenge. I wish they showed something where they were trying to like push the vote before the challenge, before they knew that who won immunity, to pretend a bit more that they were in lockstep with her, where here it still just feels like, all right, yeah, the vote's Sari, Shani, and then now she kind of more has a mind of her own to say like, that's not right, I'm gonna go elsewhere with this.
I think part of the issue with this episode is that no matter what, 3 people are safe out of these 5. Right? Because we know the presence of their 2 idols. We know that someone's going to win immunity. And because of that, there's this lack of suspense that can be built in the episode because there are only so many narratives that can get out there. Like, we evidently know Parvati is safe no matter what. We know Luke's safe no matter what. So the question becomes, who wins individual immunity? And how does that change how this works? And who does it leave vulnerable? And because of that, you can show like people pushing, because this should have been the Shani episode. This should have been an episode where it's focused on Shani. Shani should have been shining in this episode because theoretically, as the odd one out of when 2 pairs are there, she should have been able to control this vote. But there were just so many people safe from this vote that she never got the opportunity to. And the editors didn't even bother trying to push that narrative because of
it. So this challenge felt like so many challenges smashed into one, because typically I feel like that like V stack would be its own kind of challenge, but it had so many different sections to it, with balancing the monkey fist through a bunch of obstacles, adding the poles, which that is also its own challenge, and then throwing the monkey fist to release the beam to go do the stack. So this was like a pretty hefty final 5 challenge, I feel.
Yeah, and I think what Australian Survivor does really well is like taking elements of challenges and like putting them together in like really unique ways. So like we've seen the pole challenge a bunch where you have to keep adding pole section, it gets higher and higher, and we've seen it with the statue, we've seen it with a ball. I think we've seen it used as like a tool to move something somewhere, but like to go through the whole monkey bar part. And I haven't seen many Australian challenges, so maybe they're repeating something, but I thought that was like a really clever, like, let's do a classic up and over thing, but you have to like keep at like moving this really long pole. And then the end game, we've seen that kind of steppy mechanism, I think, usually in the domino challenge, at least in US Survivor, like the thing you're stepping through. So we've seen this concept, but we haven't seen it married to like the stacking game. So it's like, it's just putting a new tweak, and it's actually not, it's just nice to see like these like varieties of, I mean, they might be classic challenges, but good varieties. I really like the ball version of the the rope and the table where you're holding it out. Usually we're spelling immunity, but here we get like these balls on tracks, and it's just like it's just a little bit different, and so I do appreciate that.
Yeah. And completely lost my thought, John.
This challenge felt like it was enough of an amalgamation of all these different challenges to really give anyone a shot, which is something we often complain about in US Survivor, with like puzzles being the great equalizer and everything. But it also felt long enough you could fall behind on it a little bit. And as we're watching it and we see Luke kind of get off to this huge start, he gets that monkey fish right away, is able to start it. But we then see it's not guaranteed he's going to win immunity at this point, because people are able to still catch up to him. It was just kind of unfortunate that Shawnee could not figure out this monkey fish no matter what.
And also the wind too. The wind was a huge factor in this challenge, and sometimes Mother Nature does you dirty, and it knocks your stack over due to like no fault of your own. And Luke just didn't have his stack high enough for the wind, or was like bracing it enough for the wind. So it's when it's out of your control.
He was holding out his pole to like it was about to tip, and then he keeps it from falling using his pole, which was just like a great moment. And yeah, I mean, the wind, it's kind of annoying because there's not really anything you can do about it. If you make them more sturdy and heavier, then you're going to get less falls, and no one's going to, you might bump into your trippy thing and then it doesn't fall because it's too sturdy because you're worried about the wind. So it's kind of like not much you can do.
And then also what I liked about the trip hazard, they like blocked certain squares, so you couldn't just like go right out of it. You had to like kind of really just navigate around it, causing more of a tripping hazard too.
Yeah, Australian Survivor always does really good with their challenge design, and it's interesting when you do compare it to American Survivor and just see like the little adaptations that it comes to, right? We're not running the same thing over again. We just change things just a little bit to make it a little interesting.
Not only does Luke lie in this episode to Janine about his idol, but he also backtracks with Parvati for his idol, and she's just like, what is he doing? Why all this chaos? If he didn't have an idol, why would he make me rip up this parchment? It's like she is not really sure if she believes this new lie of psych, I don't have an idol. This was just a wild, scatterbrained scene from Luke, for sure.
I appreciated his backtracking a bit, though. And I think he did it. I think he did it well. And I think he was smart enough to remember that, look, I never showed Power of an Idol. So, like, I could have been making that up. And so, because if he answers, like, I do, but, like, don't tell Janine, like, that's going to really... Then Parv has ammunition to pit Janine and Luke against each other. And, like, then, hey, who knows what happens there? Like, maybe they can swing the vote onto Janine, maybe. Like, maybe Luke's down. I don't know. But, like, it would have affected his game, I think, if it came out before. And he said that his goal all along was like, I just want to have something that no one knows about. I want to have my moment. And so him backtracking, and I think there was a chance that Parv actually like did believe him, like, oh, you never even had one. And he was like, I don't know. I thought he sold the lie pretty well. And then he was able to do his big thing at Tribal Council, even though we're on agreement that like he probably didn't do the right thing with it. I think the setup going into Tribal and trying to keep Janine in the dark was like pretty sound.
Go, Jen.
Yeah, I think it just feels like Luke got into a position where he didn't know exactly how to proceed here and how to make it. It doesn't even feel like it was just showmanship like it did at Tribal Council, but it felt like he was trying to outplay Parvati in a sense and like almost make her just feel stupid for ripping up the advantage in the first place. And I don't know where you gain anything from it.
He said he did have all this power, but not know exactly what to do with it in one of his confessionals before leading into Tribal Council. So he was like kind of playing so many options, but not knowing which option was his best.
Yeah, I mean,
confessional, but
I mean, I think that was, yeah, that's part of what's kind of like, because we get to the voting confessional, like, this is like during trial, he's like, I could write Cerie's name down. I could play this idol on Shawnee. Like, that's totally, like, it's not like he's not aware of that as an option. I I was never really buying that he was going to. I thought Shawnee was going home pretty much the entire time, and I don't know if either of you were ever fooled. But the only moment where I was like maybe considering it is when he tells the audience directly at his voting confessional. I'm like, oh, that would actually be pretty awesome storytelling, because like we hadn't heard this plan from him. We haven't heard like we hadn't heard that he was aware of this being an idea. So honestly, I don't know. I love Suri. I was hoping that he was going to do it. Like I want Suri to get to the end, but I was like, this would be a pretty shocking end to this episode.
So James Barber says Luke could have done a 1-1 split with Shawnee, played the idol for her, guaranteed one of Parv or Suri goes home. So that could have been the ending that we got had he did something with his idol. But that showdown that they had, if Luke plays the idol for Shawnee, then Parv probably plays it for Suri, and then we have no votes, and it's then between Luke and Parv.
But that showdown also, again, it adds to this vote not making a lot of sense. The fact that they just like, okay, we both have these idols. I don't think there was any way they were ever playing on anyone other than themselves in these instances. I mean, Luke obviously was going to play it for himself because he gave away his necklace. So he was always going to play it for himself. But it just felt weird, right? Like it felt weird having them stand up there and like say each other's names
for themselves.
Yeah,
I thought it was, and obviously when Luke reveals that he's playing it for himself and not Shawnee, like once this is settled, the suspense is gone from the episode. We know what's going on. So this was kind of like the moment where, if you're paying attention, like we are, like this is like the big reveal. This is basically telling you who's going home by who Luke says he's going to play the idol on. But I believe if Luke was actually going to play it on Shawnee, and maybe let's say he wrote Suri's name down and was like, I'm doing this move because like, why not? I want to go out there. Like, even if I go home, at least I'm like going down, swinging. Like if he had that mentality that he's playing to win and not playing to sit next to Parv and just, like the order in which you play the idol and like who you're playing it for becomes very important. I was like almost half expecting, if we are going to continue going down this, to be like a standoff of like, I'm not saying it first and I'm not saying it first. And then they've got to like yet
1
again,
hour later,
or yet again, you have to pull out the classic bag of rocks here that's made so many appearances on this season where we can't decide things. Like we did that for an immunity challenge. We did it at the auction. In that, all right, whoever draws this colored rock has to reveal who they're playing it on first, because I do believe there is a world in which if Luke did write Suri's name down and then play the idol on Shawnee, is it Shawnee or Shoni? I feel like I'm going in and out between Shawnee. Okay, good. Plays it on Shawnee, then Parv will then seriously consider playing it for Suri. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Does it? Because then Janine's safe.
It would then
Johnny's safe, and then Suri's safe. It would be a 0-0 vote and then a revote?
A revote with Luke and Parv being the only two not safe.
So she probably still doesn't do it, because do they have the numbers then to get out Luke? Probably not, because Shawnee's probably not writing Luke's name down if Luke just played an idol for her.
Probably, but I mean, James Barber says it here, right? Luke could have just voted for Parv in that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
Play for Parv first, and then that way you could do it, and then you play it for Shawnee, which spooks Parvati into playing it for Suri.
It's almost like a cast vote.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Luke never got that far with it, because he said he if he was going to do it, he was going to write Suri's name down. But yeah, that would have been the smarter move. But I guess there's no world in which Parv would actually pull the trigger on it, because then the best you're doing is a revote, and you're not going to have Shawnee or Janine voting with you, and you probably go home 2-1.
Yeah,
but that is interesting though. Like we haven't seen it before. I don't
this vote would have been so much more dynamic than it was, and like so much more intricate, and it was just like, all right, we're gonna play these idols on ourselves.
The edit tried to give it to us at the beginning of the episode too, but it just lost it through the middle, because at the beginning of this episode we have this confessional of Parvati talking about how she's supposed to, like, she wants Suri sitting there at the end with her. We have this leading from like the last episode where there was the conversation about Suri going home at 6 in Game Changers because she was the only one without an advantage, right? Like, it was there. The edit almost tried to push it to the point where we were thinking, oh man, Suri's just going to get idled out here as one of two people who can go home. But it dropped that narrative halfway through. And I think someone had mentioned it earlier. St. Cliffo mentioned it earlier, right? They needed to lean into Suri going home because of advantages more, and then Shawnee becomes the surprise boot there. But in order for that, we also need to have that Shawnee edit upped in the episode. And it is one of the failings of Australian Survivor sometimes, is that they edit too heavily certain people, and it doesn't really fit the narrative of a well-rounded episode. So instead of this being an episode where we're guessing, okay, who's going home? Okay, it's clearly Suri because we're seeing all this talk about her, the advantages and everything. And then we get surprised when it's Shawnee all of a sudden who's going home. We're just focusing the entire time on Parvati and Luke. The entire episode focused on those two.
I felt similarly with I feel like they should have focused on Janine and Lisa, because Janine mentions, I went home at 6 the last time. And I was like, oh, I feel like they're mentioning this for a reason. But then that reason never came up. She was like briefly an option and then left. Similarly, where Suri was briefly an option here. So we have the end of this episode in Shawnee's final words that she's basically done playing Survivor and that she's coming for JLP's job. And then the Golden God already has it. I was like, this is an interesting take to leave in the episode. You could have just cut it. Like, this felt so awkward for me to watch.
It feels mean. It feels like they, like, it feels like something happened. I feel like something like, and I don't know, again, like, this is the first full season of Australian Survivor I've ever watched, but like, it feels like there's more to the story, because I've asked Phil about this. I think I've asked it while we've been on a podcast, like, what happened? He's like, oh, they just wanted someone with more celebrity status, so they went with Golden God because he just carries more weight now since he's been on Deal or No Deal Island, and I guess he's just a bigger star. This seems like rubbing it in to a point where, like, was there some fallout? Was there some, like, something went down? It feels like, because this doesn't feel nice.
Just like on his Instagram post being like, yeah, this sucks. I got fired. Like, this was not my choice. And then it does feel like they're rubbing salt in the wound, because, you know, Shawnee just did it as a joke. She doesn't actually want his job.
And she doesn't even know that's happening by then. She's
exactly. But they left that in knowing what's going on. And it's like, this is a little crappy.
It almost feels like a slap in the face to Australian Survivor fans, because I'm positive I am not the only one who would much prefer to have Shawnee as the host over David anyways. Like, that's just one of those things where it's like, it's already bad enough we know JLP's leaving, but now you're telling us that we have this joke from Shawnee saying she's coming for his job, and it's someone else on this season who's replacing him instead. Like, why are you doing this to us, Channel 10?
All right, we have a question from Jenny. Is of not winning immunity Marv while and she likely loses. So Parvati not winning immunity would be Suri's best shot to make final 3 is what they're asking.
I mean, yes and no. Like, there are instances, I think it gives Suri a better chance of getting into that final 3. But at the same time, wouldn't it be a much better story if Suri has to go into fire and actually redeems herself and wins from when she lost earlier in the season?
And when she lost fire making in Panama.
Yeah. Yeah. And feels like, and there's always that bump that fire making can give you when you're trying to get jury votes. Like, it's the last big show the jury sees, and like, you probably would need that to even beat Parv. But I don't know, part of me feels like Luke is kind of just like, if he doesn't win, they're just going to vote out Luke.
That's
like,
what I
does that feel likely to you, or do you think the 2-2? What's more likely, like the 2-2, or Janine's like, you know what? I don't want to sit next to Luke.
In the preview,
moves of like want to be protected, and so maybe. No, I really should go at 4, but
sorry, again, I don't know if it's on my end or your end. I did not hear any of what you just said.
My internet's spazzing out. I don't know if it's me or
is it Will?
It might be
all
me.
Of us? Okay, just say your thought then, John.
Well, I don't know my thought because it was going to be in response to whatever you were saying, because you said like some things, but just repeat what you said. No, it's McKenna's internet. It's definitely
it's McKenna's internet. Yeah. Okay, because usually it's me. This has been happening quite a bit.
Am I back yet?
You're back. You're back. But yeah, I think John and I have figured it out that it was you who went out, because neither of us did hear you. So maybe give it another go.
Oh no, it's frozen again.
Well, John, how do you think it's going? What do you think is more likely, 2-2 or a 3-1 on Luke, assuming Luke doesn't win?
I think based on the fact, like in the preview, we do have Janine saying maybe I need to turn on Luke. Tells me she's not turning on Luke. It tells me that it's less likely she's going to turn on Luke. I think it's a pretty fair shot that we are going to get a 2-2 tie here going into fire making. But I don't know. Like it could really go either way. Honestly, it becomes a question of, does someone have a killer instinct or not? And it's what we've been lacking in the last couple episodes, that win, that the person thriving for that win. So if we see someone in the finale now that they're at the pointy end of the stick, like the stay in Australia, maybe now's the time when someone just decides, no, I'm winning this game, and I don't care what I have to do it.
That's what I mean. That's what we hope to see.
Mm-hmm.
Just haven't seen it recently.
No.
Yeah, nobody has been like, they've been cutthroat in certain aspects of the game, but not the entirety of winning the game. Like, this vote, I'm going to do the thing. Like, okay, at the end of the stick, I has to go.
It almost feels like Luke is playing with ego here, where he doesn't want to count this win unless he's sitting against Suri and Parvati. You know, like I kind of get that sense from the confessionals he's had, where he's like, I want to sit against the best at the end. And it's usually, that's the type of person that we're condemning when we watch these seasons of Survivor, right? Like, why are you doing this? Why do you want to push to be at the end with the people who can beat you and not play against the people who you will win, or you'll get the guaranteed win against? And we had that conversation come up at Tribal Council, right? Like, how are you playing this? Who are you doing? And there is that thought of, okay, well, some of these people, you know, everyone who gets there is going to be a worthy competitor in Final Tribal Council. But I mean, let's not like shade it here, right? Like, if Tommy got the Final Tribal Council, he's probably not going to have as elegant Final Tribal Council speech as Janine will, right? And like, that's one of those things that I think people weren't considering as they progressed through this season. And Parvati just kind of got into a sense of, I'm going to go against people who aren't going to get there. And it feels like she just wants to get to the end, but doesn't necessarily want to get the win.
Well, in Parvati's case, I feel like it's like, if anybody wants to go with me, great.
Yeah. If you're threat number one, you're like, yeah, if you want to take me and we can make a deal, sure.
Gardy says Suri loses fire and will get her redemption on season 50. She can balance now.
She has been better at these beams. Yeah.
She's just been better at these challenges in general. I've been quite impressed with the way Suri has been performing in challenges this season.
Do you think Australian Survivor impacts, or challenge-wise, impacts her positively for season 50, that she'll be able to do more challenges and actually compete for individual immunity in season 50?
I think it might make it so that she has a chance of actually getting to a merge because she hasn't felt as a detriment to her tribes in the pre-merge.
Yeah, I'll just be happy if she makes the merge. So if
Yeah.
she's competing for individual immunities, then we've gotten her far enough along. It's the early stage is where I worry.
Hyro says Parvati win is so much better without a saving by twist that other female Australian Survivor winners. So I feel like Parvati's win here without having twists is just the name of the game. If you get saved by a twist in Australian Survivor, I mean, that is literally the pinnacle of Australian Survivor. So I don't think her win necessarily would be much better than someone who got saved by a twist. It's just the name of the game for Australian Survivor.
But I guess I haven't seen the other Australian Survivor, so like I can't compare it to the other wins.
One winner got it was like a Chris Underwood.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's getting saved.
Not as bad. It was like halfway through, but like
because at this point, like, what twist did she get saved by? She found an idol, which her whole alliance knew about it, and she was the only one to go up and get it. So, like, are we really being like, oh, she got saved there? It's like, why didn't Cass get it? Why didn't Sari get it? Like, what's going? Why didn't Lisa grab it? Because all 4 of them knew. I'm pretty sure. Is that the case, or am I making? Is that right?
No, you're right.
Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, you are. And the Australians even opened the box to figure out that someone had something in the episode that Parvati does reveal that she has the idol. And it's just like, cool. You guys.
Yeah. So, but it's like she has an idol and she did, I think, play like she whipped it out at some opportune times. I think it's been clever with it. Like she hasn't just sat on it. But I mean, yeah, idols are helpful, but we've seen a lot of people get idols and then either like go home with them in their pockets or like misplay them or, you know, just use them incorrectly. And she used it to get to the end, and then the knowledge is power, which I'm not even sure. It's so weird the way like that was introduced, where it's like like I can steal an idol, but it like wasn't called you found the idol or the knowledge is power advantage. She ended up using that in a very clever way, an almost Tony way, where you don't like let your opponents know the rules of the game, and like could be a little unfair, sure. And you know, especially we have all these different Survivor franchises coming together, who's playing by what rules and who has seen other iterations. Like, do people even know what knowledge is power is out there? But I do give her some credit in that, like, she used it in a way where she like literally was just bluffing because she was not going to be allowed to steal Cass's idol, and then got the intel and then, you know, pulled off that move. And then she doesn't end up actually ever using the knowledge is power to steal someone's idol. Luke ends up doing this shaky little weird move, which, hey, kudos to Luke. But I wouldn't even sit here and say that Parv got saved by twist. I feel like that would be like misclassifying her win if she does end up winning. I would say more that she got set up on an immensely good situation for her starting tribe, and that we've talked about that to death, you know, last week.
Right.
But like, that's what I wouldn't say it's really the twist. Unless is there a twist? I'm for another twist, but I feel like that's it, right? It's been knowledge of power, which she didn't use, but she kind of did, and then just one idol. So like, it's not that crazy.
No, and I agree, Will. I think what it comes down to is like, this is one of those instances where you have to play the season you're given, and Parvati's just been given a season where it really plays to her skill sets, right? She's able to navigate social connections with people, especially having like this. Having the Parvati name and history to her has helped her so much in this, even with the world. Like, being on a tribe where she starts with more women doesn't necessarily benefit her, except for the fact that she has this legacy of having the strongest women's alliance in Survivor history. And I think the interesting thing that we get into is we just see the differences in strategy in Australian Survivor versus US Survivor with the way that this game's gone, and the fact that Parvati and Sari, who were outnumbered completely in the merge situation as the 2 Americans. We saw the 3 world who didn't really consider them part of the world tribe, and the 5 Australians, and they were still able to navigate it in a way where they're sitting here at Final Four together. And whether that be because there were pregame alliances or there were just conversations that were had and people knew of each other and everything, who knows? We may never know. But you have to play the game that's there, right? And this is exactly like All-Stars in the first place, right? Where there were so many pregame alliances and the show's just not willing to acknowledge it, but it dictated the way the game played out. And if that's the way that this game played out, it's the way the game played out, but it's still part of the game. So we can't really knock the win in anything other than the fact that it is a 14-day season as opposed to an any other length season.
Thoughts on this episode or the end game that is on Sunday?
I mean, who are you rooting for to win here?
Well, we all know who McKenna's rooting for.
100%. But be interesting to see who is that fourth place boot.
Yeah, I feel like I'm rooting for, like, just because the Parv win is feels so in the bag and obvious. Like, I'm rooting to be surprised. Like, I'm like rooting for I'm rooting for anyone other than Parv to win and have it be like, gotcha. Like, Janine came out of nowhere, or Luke came out of nowhere. Sari finally went. Like, it just feels like Sari is kind of an afterthought to Parv here, which is kind of crazy. Like, I feel like if Parv and Sari both make the final three, this should be like two queens, legends of the game going head to head, and it just feels like it wouldn't even be a fight right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that we get. At this point, I kind of just want the Janine win. Like, that's what I want. I think I've been most impressed with her gameplay over the last few episodes, and Parvati almost feels too obvious. And I know Australian Survivor has that history of over editing their winners. Surprise us. Just surprise us. Like you said, Will. Like, give me something out of the left field so that it's so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Luke has a 6%, Parv has a 93% to St. Cliffo. So happens with that other 1%.
Yeah. Is that 1%?
That's the other two people.
Sari and Janine?
Yeah.
They each have 0.5, and then we'll go up if one of them gets booted.
I guess so. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think Sunday will be interesting, even if Parvati does end up pulling off the win. I think that, it's no matter what you think about this season, it's been entertaining. I think that's really what it comes down to. It's been fun, even if it doesn't quite feel like Survivor. This is the off season anyways. We don't usually get Survivor at this time of the year, so it's been nice just to have something to watch.
Little bonus Survivor season.
Yeah. Okay, with that, I guess that's the end of the episode then, unless you two have anything else you want to say about it.
Let's be surprised. It's been fun. It's been a good ride.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode recap. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, become a patron. There's Patreon content coming up out there. Will, I have no idea what season you guys are on for. It's Redemption Island still?
The end of Redemption Island and South Pacific is slowly coming up. So really, we're in the golden age of Survivor over here.
But on top of that, I mean, Survivor 49 is right around the corner now. We are in the same month that a new season of Survivor is going to be airing. So there's going to be a lot of 49 coverage. What's coming up next, Will? What are you guys doing?
We got tomorrow. We're gonna do our over under game. I'm fairly sure.
That's a fun one, and I can say that because I won it last season. So.
Oh
wow! Yes, and I think we have a special guest too. I don't know if that's been announced or if I can. I don't know. I'll keep it.
There's a way you can announce it, maybe if you know.
I know. I'm gonna keep it a surprise.
Well, with that, thanks for tuning in.
The special guest is not Blake. No, that's
he's just a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, everyone have a good day and get ready for that finale on Sunday where McKenna and Phil's joining you again for the finale recap, right? No, he's not. Oh, okay.
No.
Well, McKenna will be here to recap that finale for you all.
All right.
See ya.